Hold on, y'all. Salakia. We got shut off. We got shut off the live. Hit the like button when you come in. Hit the like button when you come in so Israel can see we back live again because they cut us off. They probably trying to block the video now so y'all don't learn what y'all supposed to learn. Hit the like button when you come in. Hit the like button when you come in. Let me get my brothers back on the live. Hold on, y'all. Salaki. Trying to get my brothers back on. We got kicked off the live. Hold on a second. Just sent them the link when they get back on. Yo, the reason what just happened, you guys, for those of y'all that don't know, Esau was watching the video and they shut us down because we was putting out too much truth. So right in the middle of the lesson, we only had 30 minutes left. We were showing y'all that video about the actual Hamite telling you that we're not Hamites and that the Hamites know we're not Hamites and that they actually sold us to the white man. That video was playing and we got cut off. They took the whole live down, deleted the video, everything, and said that it was because of YouTube guidelines. So we got shut down. So hit the like button when you come in, Baba Kashai, so Israel can see the video. Brothers just got back on, so we're gonna go ahead and let them in. Man, I'm back out here. Crazy, right? Dealing with Esau. Yeah, I can't even find the video to make it pop back up on my phone, bro.
Oh, you want me to send it to your phone?
Here we go. No, I found it. Man.
Can we start with a precept though, real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Me and the brother was still talking. You want to pull that Mark 4:16?
Man, when y'all come in, man, so Israel can see this because we just got shut back down. You know what I'm saying? We gonna want the lights to go back up so that the notifications could go back out that we back live because we had some people watching and we got shut down right in the middle of a video being showed. So.
Con, no good AC just said crafty counsel. Just what the brother just said.
Crafty. That's what we was talking about. That's what we were talking about, man. What you want to bring up?
So what?
You want to bring up?
Yeah, brother gonna bring out that in Mark 4.
This is the book of Mark, chapter 4 and verse 15.
I'll be right back. Y'all go ahead.
14. The sower soweth the word, and these are they by the wayside, where the word is sown. But when they heard, Satan cometh immediately and taketh away the word that was sown in their hearts.
So that's exactly what just happened. I mean, what we have to explain is that's what just happened.
That's right.
We were at the end of the lesson, but it was getting too hot. So they had to cool it off real quick and shut it off. Take away the word. But it's like I don't want y'all will all say all the time, Esau can't get away. Because we were talking about him. But we're talking about him, we were really getting on the crafty counsel of Esau, because that's who was behind the curtain doing all of that. It was Esau.
That's right. I got a precept for you. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 8.
Bring it up.
You can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth. So no matter what Esau do, no matter what YouTube do, if they shutting down the videos, they can't do nothing against this truth, man. This word gotta go out, man. Talking about Ham, talking about Moab, any nation, man. This word gotta go out, man. No matter what, you can't do nothing against this truth, man. We got Yahweh Bashim Yahushua on this side, man.
Come on. And you know what? That's funny. Now that you said that, we're gonna come after all of y'all next.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Esau can't get away, Moab can't get away, Amalek can't get away. None of y'all get away. That's just what's going on now. Now we're coming after all of y'all.
And I got another precept. I got another one. It's the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 4. And whom the God of this world has blinded the minds of them which believe not, man. And that's what they tried to do, man, shutting down the YouTube, man. The people that was interested in the video, the people that was really getting it, they continuing to try to blind them, man. They don't want y'all to come into this truth, man. Y'all got to recognize this, man. It says the God of this world, man. That's Satan, man. That's the so-called white man. They are the gods of this world. They don't want y'all to come into this thing. I'm gonna read on. Lest the light of the glorious gospel of Yahweh Shai, who is the image of God, should shine unto them, man. They don't want y'all to be saying Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, most high in Christ blessed. They don't want y'all to keep the commandments, man, and have faith, man. They don't want y'all to be doing this. Y'all gotta recognize this, man. That's why they took that video down, man.
All day, man. Yeah, for those of y'all that don't know, again, we was on the video, we was on the live, and they shut us down because we was just bringing out too much truth. So we gonna semi start over. We're not gonna say everything we said because we were already on the live for an hour and 20 minutes when they shut us down. So, and it's like it's 11 o'clock. Some brothers gotta go to work tomorrow. So, yeah, man, where y'all want to start? But we are gonna bring out what they just shut down. We just gonna find another way to do it. So,
to be honest with you, let's start back at Psalms 83. We got to. That's all. We got to. We're gonna get through it though. For sure.
Definitely.
We're throwing up that Exodus a little bit.
We'll start at the top. Psalms 83 in verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God.
Let's stop right there. That's what we praying for.
That's right.
I just told the brothers, that just made me mad. You know what I'm saying? That's what we praying for. We don't want God to stay silent. We don't want him to hold his peace. We don't want him to be patient. We want him to move. That's just what it is. And we see with all this stuff going on, he's moving right now. But at the same time, Esau's trying to take away the word, just like we read in Mark 4. He's trying to take away the word. So that's what we're praying for, to be real. We want him to move and take these people out. Bring it out.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
So like I said earlier, tumult is a commotion, loud noise. They're coming together. All them nations are coming together. They're trying to rise up against the people of Israel. Right? Bring it out.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. and consulted against thy hidden ones.
Come. So they're trying to be wise. This is another crafty counsel. We own YouTube. We own Google. We own whatever. So when it start getting too hot, like he said, if one person was interested in what we were saying, and they have a short, I ain't gonna say attention span, but if they're quick to give up, that person is gone. That's crafty counsel. They bringing out too much heat, so we gonna shut it off. That's crafty counsel. Thinking that the brothers is gonna just go to bed, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we just gonna go to bed. We're not gonna, we gonna just give up. Just like all the brothers in the streets, all the brothers that teach on a nightly basis, they all say the same thing. We gonna teach until you make us go in the house. You should have cut the internet off when you let the coronavirus go. But because we can't be outside, some brothers are getting shut down, but they still online teaching. You moving from one spot, they going to another spot. It is what it is. Figure it out.
Hey, Salaki, real quick, man, y'all gotta, people gotta think about what the brother is bringing out, man. The brother was bringing out a beautiful lesson, man. The brother put together a great lesson, man. He's showing you how they say that the Africans sold Africans. He's showing you the Africans sold Israelites, man, and that's burning Esau up, man. Esau could not stand for that, man. Esau got coronavirus tearing them up. The Israelites still preaching the word. Then you got this brother bringing out this great lesson, man. How man, everything you learn about Africans selling Africans is a lie, man. Esau had to take that down. That's crafty counsel against the scriptures, man.
Yo, this is crazy.
Your brother just posted. I don't know if it's true or not. Watchmen just got shut down. Man.
That's why
y'all gotta be aware of the times. Go ahead,
And them brothers are powerful. Those brothers at WFI, them brothers are powerful. So I am not surprised. Not surprised. Them powerful brothers. Whatever they was bringing out was probably tearing their ass up too.
That's right.
That's what we do.
Oh,
let's this word, man. Let's tell Esau some more, cause now I'm gonna bring out this some stuff I was gonna hold back on, but since we're not gonna bring the whole lesson out like we did before, y'all gonna get the whole whooping now. It's a wrap.
Tomorrow, let's get it. Where we at?
Verse 4. Come. They have said, "Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance."
It's not happening. You tried to bury us, but you didn't know we were seeds. Like I said before, we don't die, we multiply. You try to bury our name in the dirt. You feel me? You try to bury our name in the dirt. Can't get away. Verse 5.
Come, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee.
And who did it?
The tabernacles of Edom.
How did they use that consent? YouTube.
That's right.
Right. Go ahead.
The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes, Gabal and Ammon and the Amalek and the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre.
We were talking about the inhabitants of Tyre. We was getting on him. But Esau knows, for those of you who don't know, he was behind all of that. So when we say that the Africans didn't sell Africans and the Africans sold Israelites, who they sell them Israelites to? We still talking about Esau. You can't get away, like the elder said. You cannot get away. All right, so we're going to go from there, right? And we're going to go to Exodus, but we're going to shorten that back up. For those of y'all who was on the live or new to this live, we read Exodus 1, verse 1 through 22, right? We're just going to get the crafty counsel scriptures out of that to save some time so we can get this meat. All right? So let's turn to Exodus 1 real quick.
Hey, I got a precept for you real quick, just to go off what you're saying. Ham, they can't get away, man. This is the book of Amos, chapter 1 and verse 9. Thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof. because they delivered the whole captivity to Edom.
Mm-hmm.
And remember not the brotherly covenant, man. That's the Most High saying, man. Y'all, Tyree, you Hamites, man. Y'all offended one too many times, man. I'm not gonna forget this, man, in these last days, man.
Mm-hmm.
On Judgment Day, the Most High is not going to forget this, man. You Hamites, man, you Edomites, y'all have offended one too many times, man.
Come on.
Where we at, though? Exodus 1?
Yeah, Exodus 1, but quick synopsis of what's going on. All right, I'm gonna make my short story even shorter for this go around.
Okay.
For those of y'all who don't know how we got into Egypt, this go around that's talking about in Exodus 1, Joseph was sold into Egypt by his brothers who were jealous of him because Jacob loved him more than he loved his brothers. Right? Joseph found favor with Pharaoh, right? Was lied on, put in prison, and used his gifts that God gave him, which was interpreting dreams, to get back into Pharaoh's house and gain favor with him again. So at Exodus 1 through 7, Joseph is back in his position in Pharaoh's house, governing Pharaoh's affairs, eating the best of the best, wearing the finest linens, the whole 9 yards, right? And we're going to see what happens. So this is going to explain how we got into Egypt. Go ahead. We're gonna read verse. Matter of fact, verse 1 through 7 is just talking about Joseph already being in Egypt and the sons of Jacob coming into Egypt. We're gonna start at verse 8 and see what happened after Joseph died.
Come. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 1 and verse 8.
Come.
Now therefore arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply and it come to pass, that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us. So get them up out of the land.
Cool. So this is another crafty counsel. This is going back to Psalms 83, right? The nation's making a tumult. They're forming crafty counsel against the children of Israel. So he's saying, let's deal wisely with them and get them up out of the land because they're multiplying too much. Like I stated earlier, this is America before America. This is a world empire. And the king of Egypt is Donald Trump at the time. They have the best of everything, but he's scared of the little old children of Israel. So we couldn't have been too little. He must have known the might of the God of Israel at this time. Right? So let's go to verse 11 real fast.
Verse 11. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens.
Come.
And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. Right.
So we became a burden on the Egyptians because every time they try to do something to us, we multiply. Right? Verse 14. Let's see. Go to verse 14.
Verse 14. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made their service was with rigor.
Sidebar. So I'm seeing that they're trying to do something with the live again. So if it cuts off, we'll be back. Anyway, so they said they made the bondage hard on the children of Israel. Same thing that happened back then happened, to our great-great-grandparents or great-great-great-grandparents in the Americas, right? Our work was with rigor. They made it hard. It wasn't that the work wasn't hard already. They made sure that it was hard, right? But it didn't work because we kept multiplying. So let's see the character counsel that the Egyptian king tried. Let's read verse 15.
No, get 14. Get 14 too. Get 14 too.
We just read that
We,
one.
we just
Oh,
read
yeah,
that.
I thought
Yeah.
you said Salaki.
Oh, yeah. You good. Let's go to verse 15.
Verse 15.
Mhm.
And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew wives, of which the name of the one was Sifra, and the name of the other Puah.
Mhm.
And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live.
Con. So why would they kill the males? Males fight in wars, correct? And males, with no males, you can't reproduce. Not saying that a woman can reproduce on her own. You know what I'm saying? But or a male can reproduce if they killed all the women. But I'm saying that's a depopulation tactic that in this one, Ham was using to try to kill off the nation of Israel. So we can't fight. Because the warriors aren't here, or the future warriors aren't here. Who's gonna fight against us? That's what it was thinking, right? But let's see what happened. Verse 17.
Hey, and Salakia, real quick, even if you think about it in today's time, right? Look at COVID-19, right?
Mhm.
Now, first of all, they came out and said COVID-19 can't kill no black people. Which
Right.
was a lie. Now the majority of people dying from COVID-19 is black people, Hispanic people, Native Americans, so-called. But if you look at it, it's the men dying. It's majority. They say the men are dying at twice the rate as a woman.
Con.
So that's the same exact thing, man. They trying to destroy our men. They're trying to destroy our nation.
Come, because Esau knows the scriptures.
That's
and
right.
Esau knows when it's all said and done, the Most High is going to take vengeance by his people Israel. So he really thinks that if he kills off, the men of Israel, that the Most High's vengeance still won't be taken. Like they're not even using rational thinking at this point, right? Right. Let's go. Verse. Do we read 17?
No, we had 17.
All right, come.
Oh, Salakia, just to let me back so I can say what I said the last time, just to let me back on what the brothers are saying about them wanting to take out the black man from the family. It's the same model that the same model that Esau is using is the same model that Esau used. Is the same model that Babylon used. It's the same model that Egypt used. And what's America supposed to be, right? Spiritual Egypt, Babylon, Sodom, Gomorrah. Go up is Babylon the greatest Babylon, right? The greatest land of confusion. So, and it's spiritual Egypt and Sodom and Gomorrah. So that's what this is, right? And he's using the model that they use to basically get over on us. So modern day technology and the modern day way of them killing like the firstborn is, the eugenics movement by way of Planned Parenthood, right? The way of them getting them black men out the household now is the war on drugs with them either putting us in jails or putting a bullet in us, right? Plata y plomo. You feel me? Like that's how they doing it now. So that's the method of I guess the method of captivity or the method of control that Esau is using, and he's got that method. He got the model for that method, the blueprint from it, right? From Egypt and Babylon before it. So that's all I want to say.
Come. We have verse 18.
Come.
All right, bring it out.
And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have you done this thing and have saved the men children alive? And the midwife said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are deliverer with the midwives come in unto them.
So they use wisdom, right? We see a lot of times in the scriptures where people use wisdom to get out of certain situations. And these midwives are the same thing with the Pharaoh, right? So he said they were more lively. And I'm going to let Adawan break that down a little bit more on what that lively means, because he broke it down real clear last time. Go ahead and do that, Adawan.
Basically, verse 19, if you read it in other translations, because I know this translation is hard to understand due to the old English, but where it says, go ahead and read it, James.
God. Exodus 1 and 19. And the midwife said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women.
Right. So when it says the Hebrew women aren't as the Egyptian women, it's trying to say they're basically stronger, right? They have, uh, they seem to be able to take pain more and take the pains of birth more than a regular woman, especially an Egyptian woman, because these midwives were Egyptian midwives, so they're used to handling Egyptian women. So they're straight up telling the Pharaoh, "Hey, these ain't like these ain't like Egyptian women." Why? Go ahead.
For they are lively
Hmm.
and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them.
So you're saying they're lively, like they're strong. They're able to just push out the babies before the midwives even get to them. So how the midwives supposed to follow the order of the pharaoh when they're supposed to kill the babies as soon as they have the kid, but the midwives don't even get a chance to touch the baby? Because like I brought up before, y'all always brought this out plenty of times. When women had children back in the day, the baby would come from between their legs. Like they would be sitting down almost in a squatting position. That's how children were born back then. It was easy because due to gravity, the kid just falls right at you. You know what I'm saying? After you push a couple times. Wasn't no 12, 13 hours of labor because you weren't laying on your back. So everything's able to open up, you know what I'm saying, all the cavities so the baby could just fall right out of you. So what was happening was the Most High made a way that the women were just pushing the babies out. Probably one, two, three pushes. You know what I'm saying? The child's on the ground. The mother still has enough energy to pick the child up and keep the midwife from the child. You know what I'm saying? She's already got the child. She's fondling the baby already. There's no need for the midwife to have anything to do with the child at that point. So there's nothing that the midwives could do. You know what I'm saying? Before they could do anything, the children were already born. So that's why they said, they're already having the babies before we come onto them. These women ain't like Egyptian women. We can't even do what you ask us to do. They're already having the kids. You know what I'm saying? So that's what 19 is trying to say. Go ahead.
Con. So let's see what happens at verse 20.
Verse 20. Therefore God dwelt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty.
Con. So Crafty counsel number 1 was them making our work rigorous. And in let's see, in verse 12, we grew, right? So he told the midwives to kill all the males. In verse 16, verse 20, we grew again. We don't die, we multiply. That's just what it is. You can't kill us. It's not going to happen. You can kill a few of us. You can kill a lot of us. But we're still going to multiply. Right? Verse 21.
It's like I gotta. I want to let me back off what the other one was saying too about the women. That mighty spirit, man. Because we need our women to come back to that spirit. We need our women to come back to that mighty, that strong woman, man. To how the scriptures say they were. I'm gonna get a precept real quick. I'm gonna get Deuteronomy 28 and 54, man, describing the women, man. You women gotta aspire to be like this, and the women and like our foremothers. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 56. The tender and delicate women among you, which would not adventure to set her sole of her feet upon the ground, for her delicateness and her tenderness, man. You women got to go back to this, man, to that delicate, tender, that mighty, that woman, man.
Say that again, all right?
Y'all got to go back to that spirit, man. We don't want no Negro women's, man. We don't want no home girl. That's our wife. No, man. We want you to be a girl, man.
Right.
We want you to have that effeminate spirit, man.
Right.
Bring it out. We don't want no time.
No, we don't want that. We don't want your spirit, man. We want y'all to come back to that delicate and that tenderness, man. That would have adventure to set her soul upon the ground, man. We need y'all women to come back to that. And for y'all women that's already like that, all praises.
Facts. Like all the ones, y'all all say all the time, we need a pillar of rest.
That's right. That's
We
right.
don't need all that in our face, talking too much. None of that. It's not even a lesson. But, right, this is the truth. We need our backbones back. We're going to keep it moving. We're going to say that for another day.
Come. Where we at? 21? Verse 21. Exodus chapter 1, verse 21. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive.
He tried it again. He tried it again. At this point, he's looking mighty sick and weak to me. He tried it once, it didn't work. With the richest work. You know what I'm saying? But we're stronger than each nation on the work on the earth. So, it might have been hard, but we just multiplied, right? And then he tried it again, telling the midwives to kill all the males. We multiplied again. So he tried it the third time. Now, like we said earlier, we're gonna let y'all read the rest of that. That's going into Moses and a whole nine y'all. Y'all can read Exodus, right? So we're gonna go on to the next portion. But that's just showing, number one, the crafty counsel didn't just start with Psalms 83. We had nations trying to consult against us before that, right? And it never works. It's like they try to use crafty counsel to cut off these lessons, and it doesn't work. You're going to catch us on the internet, outside. If you don't catch us outside, we're going to be on a conference call. You feel me? Like, what can y'all do? I feel bad for you. I don't want you to bring out that precept.
Yeah, I got a precept for y'all. We brought this out the last time before they cut us off. Basically goes a little deeper into showing you that the other nations didn't know who we were. This again is Achior. He's a captain of the Ammonites during the Assyrian captivity. And if you know anything about the Assyrian captivity, the Assyrians had basically the whole quote-unquote Middle East in captivity, from Pakistan all the way to Israel, right? And then Alexander the Greek would take that over after King Darius and the Persian Mede Empire, right? Persian Medes would basically take the empire of the Assyrians and build on it a little bit. And then Alexander the Greek would take the Persian Mede Empire and build on it a little bit. That's why he had so much of a big empire. It wasn't that he did a lot. It was that Babylonians did what they did. Assyrians took over from the Babylonians. Persian Medes took over from them. And then the Greek freak got what he got after that, right? So basically, this is Achior the Ammonite. He said, then said Achior, the captain of the sons of Ammon, let my Lord now hear a word from the mouth of thy servant, and I will declare unto thee the truth concerning this people. Who's the people he's talking about? He's talking about the Israelites, right? Because right now, they're trying to find a way to defeat us, and Achior is trying to he's trying to let Holofernes, who's the leader or the captain of the army for the Assyrians, the general, he's trying to let him know that we're not a people to mess with, right? We're not a people that you just take lightly. We're a force to be reckoned with, because we have God on our side. That's basically what he's alluding to. And he's going to he's going to be punished for it afterwards. But this is what he says before he gets his punishment. Yeah, come on. Okay, Salaki. But it says that I will declare unto thee the truth concerning this people which dwelleth near thee and inhabited the hill countries, and there shall no lie come out of my mouth of thy servant, or the mouth of thy servant. This people are descended from the Chaldeans. So we do descend from the Chaldeans. If you know about Abraham, he was a Chaldean before he was the father of the Israelites. So they sojourned here heretofore in Mesopotamia, which is where he lived. Same place Enoch lived and all that type of stuff. And for those of you that think there's a book of Enoch, you would know that that wouldn't be possible if you know anything about Mesopotamia. Anyway, because they would not follow the gods of their fathers, which were in the land of Chaldea, right? But they left the way of their ancestors and worshiped the God of heaven, and the God whom they knew, so they cast them out from the face of their gods, meaning the the Mesopotamians or the Chaldeans, and they fled into Mesopotamia and sojourned there many days. So then their God commanded them to depart from the place where they sojourned, which is Mesopotamia, right? And to go forth into the land of Canaan, where they dwelt and were increased with gold and silver and with very much cattle. So we basically became rich in the land of Canaan or Canaan, right? Right before we went to Egypt. Verse 10. But when a famine covered all the land, they went down into Egypt and sojourned there, while they were nourished and became there a great multitude, so that one could not number their nation. Verse 11. Therefore the king of Egypt rose up against them and dwelt subtly with them and brought them low with laboring in brick and made them slaves. Then they cried unto their God. He smote all the land of Egypt with incurable plagues, so that the Egyptians cast them out of their land. So, same way the brother read to you earlier, that we were increasing in the land of Egypt and all that type of stuff, and the ruler of Egypt came against us because of how much we were like increasing and multiplying in his land. That's the same thing that Judith is explaining here, or the book of Judith is explaining here, right? With Ankior. So this proves to you that this Ammonite, who wasn't even around when we were messing with the Egyptians, right? He knows our whole story from when we were in Egypt. So that proves that the other nations did know who we were at some point in time, even though they act like they don't now. They did know that we existed because this Ammonite, who we believe to be a so-called Japanese person today, knows who the heck the Israelites were and knows our whole story from top to bottom. Knows about our God, knows about Abraham, how he was a Canaanite, Mesopotamian, and all of that stuff, right? So, moving on. Verse 13. And God dried up the Red Sea before them and brought them to Mount Sinai and Cade's barn and cast forth all that dwelt in the wilderness, right? So we'll stop there. Y'all can read the rest of it. He's basically about to get punished at this point. But that's what he told them. So he let them know our whole story, man, from front, like the whole beginning of our story, to prove that, you know, other nations knew who we were. Now we run a force to be reckoned with. That we were a force to be reckoned with. That you couldn't just push over the Israelites, right? Like many people think you could do today. It's because we had an army, we had the Most High on our side, and even though we were going off back then, we still did things like that fast. You know what I'm saying? We would fast and everything that happened in the book of Judith. They all put on their sackcloth and they did that thing, and the Most High came out. Well, they came out victorious in this very war. And this also, you see later on, I think in the next chapter, Esau comes to the mount with Tyre to help or maybe it's the chapter before that. Esau comes to the mount with Tyre to help them in Holofernes get a game plan on how they're gonna take us down, but it failed. And then, if you know anything about that, I'm gonna let you guys read it. Read Judah chapter 4 to chapter 7, right? It'll explain that type of stuff. But this same strategy that Esau tried to tell them to use before, when we got the high ground and how to basically cut off our guerrilla warfare, is the same strategy that they used in 70 AD, and they won because of the rain and the way that they were able to set our temple on fire, like I showed you guys in the video last week. So, like I said, it's a model that they used. They used the model back when Judith was around. It failed, right? They tried the same thing again with better modern day at the time inventions, which was their battering ram. They were able to tear our walls down. So they had something that they were able to use, you know what I'm saying, to help them catapult themselves forward and use the model that they had in the past to make it better. And that's what they did, right? It's no different than what they've been doing this whole time. So go ahead,
Con. So we're gonna go from Babylon to Timbuktu. I got one account, and Ottawa has another account of us fleeing persecution, right? So we're gonna go to Babylon to Timbuktu, page 40, and it's the first full paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And it says, thousands of Jews migrated to Egypt and Arabia when the Roman general Titus destroyed the city of Jerusalem 70 AD. When the Jews revolted 130 AD, Emperor Hadrian dispatched General Julius Severus to Palestine to suppress the revolt. The persecution and restrictions imposed on the Jews were so great that a large number of the Jews fled into Arabia. All right, so that's just an account of us fleeing the land. When our land was getting purged, right? But Audubon's gonna bring out what he got. I can read it for you, Audubon, and then you can break it down.
Go to page 84. Before you read that though, what this is talking about, if you guys remember the video I read you guys last week, I showed you guys last week rather, and that's crazy because you can't say it was a copyright issue because they damn near let me show a whole video last week, right? But anyway, so yeah, so this is talking about when we fled to basically the eastern side, right? Before they were able to build the wall and stop us from fleeing out that way. If you remember, Titus had his soldiers build a wall around Jerusalem after they cut off and sacked all the other cities. They built this wall in 3 days and it stopped us from escaping, which is how the whole famine started. And the curse from Deuteronomy, where we had to eat our own children, eat the fruit of our womb, that happened there because we weren't able to leave the city anymore to get resources and bring them into the city because of the wall that they built around Jerusalem. So this happened, us fleeing to Arabia, right, and basically blending in with a couple of the Yemenite Jews, so to speak, from Jeremiah's captivity with the same Assyrians that we were talking about in the book of Judith. These people, it wasn't enough of us to leave, so to speak, and be a complete remnant, which is why Isaiah 11 talks about it being a small number of us that still in those lands, because as we showed you proof of, Esau literally built a wall stopping us from going out that way. So the only place we were able to flee was into Africa. So again, that's a cut to the Negro only Israelites that feel like there can't be any Israelites in this side of the world because the whole remnant is in Assyria. They can't be in Assyria because only a remnant was able to even flee that far. A small, very, very small remnant was even able to flee that far and mix in with a couple of Yemenite Jews because there was a wall built to prevent us from going that way. So to prove this, the same author of this book who got this information expounds on it more in page 84 and explains to you how after the wall was built that stopped us from going to Arabia, we would flee to Africa, and that's where most of us would reside from that point on. Hold on, y'all. This junk is all right. Selected. Okay. So, if y'all could read from in.
In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery.
Right. Hold on. And as I was trying to tell you earlier, there's a reference that I didn't get to in the last video that we're gonna get to now, Esau and Ham, whether y'all like it or not. We're gonna get to it. Where this is a black man who wrote this book, Rudolph Windsor, right, an Israelite brother, and Esau also knows about this account, even though when you ask a historian, they act like they don't know what you're talking about. But I'm going to show you an article that many Edomites use on a website that many Edomites use that proves that they know this, but they try to make this number significantly smaller, as if to say that there can be no more than this amount of so-called black Jews out there in the world, which is why they tried to shorten the amount. But we'll get to that in a little while. Go ahead, continue.
The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves.
Right. So the slave markets, not just from the current time period, from what you guys think is 1619 to now, but also from 70 AD and 73 AD when they, sacked Jerusalem. So Yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to bring out on that. If y'all want the Book of Babylon, the 10x2, you don't want to pay for it online. They got free PDFs, so that's literally how I'm showing it to you right now. I didn't pay for this. Go ahead. Shout out to Rudolph for the book. The water to the brother.
Come. So we're gonna find. We're gonna get the scriptural reference for that. If y'all can pull Matthew 24:15, 16. We're just reiterating what we went over in the last video before Esau tried to cut off the word. But we're gonna do it again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, come.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let him which be in Judea flee into the mountains.
Come. So Yahweh is telling them, when you see the abomination of the desolation that was prophesied by Daniel, flee into the mountains. That's fleeing deeper into Africa. We did it because we look like the people in that area, right? So that's chopping the ideology or idea that Africans sold Africans into slavery. There's no way. Africans sold Israelites into slavery. We went into their land, they knew who we were, and when the time was right, and Esau and Ham consulted together with one consent, they sold us to the Edomites from Africa. Just like we said earlier, and I'm glad we're not forgetting this point. When's the last time you heard an African complain about slavery? When's the last time you heard an African complain about Jim Crow? When's the last time you heard an African complain about segregation? If you had that conversation around them, they kind of look stupid at you. Like, yeah, I'm listening, but you just don't know. I've never heard an African in my life complain about slavery or complain about his forefathers going into slavery. Never in my life. Because they can't relate, because it didn't happen to them, right? There's a video that we don't have, but it was basically a brother talking to a Hamite. He was like, oh yeah, we learned that in school. Y'all the true Israelites, and we stole y'all. We learned that in school. They just don't teach y'all. They don't put it in the curriculum over here for y'all. Because they consulted together with one consent that the name of Israel be no longer in remembrance. So why would they tell us that Africans sold Israelites into slavery? Because Africans didn't go into slavery, right? So it would be common sense. Oh, so we the Israelites then, huh? And then their rulership is over, right? So we're gonna go to this video. I don't know how we're gonna do. We gonna just play the audio, correct? Or we just gonna
Well, nah, we're not gonna play the audio because I don't want them to shut it down. So, before I continue, if y'all want a precept to Matthew 24, it's what I showed y'all last week, Luke 21, and I believe started 20. But that will give you this direct precept. You know what I'm saying? Shows you two biblical accounts of this happening, and now you got two videos of two, like historical accounts of it happening. You got the history from this video that we're gonna bring out, and you got the entire video that I showed you guys last time, where Esau is literally showing you that this actually happened. So don't let no Pan-Africanists tell you that there wasn't no wars between Edomites and Israelites, because the history videos are all over YouTube for free. Go ahead.
so lucky the brother, the real cold one, just said he was just arguing with Ham about this a few minutes ago.
You see, we came to the right place. We was arguing with Ham too, and then they shut us off. It was crazy.
Ham was like, "Cut the video off."
Yeah, they didn't want that.
All right, well,
all right. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. Oh man. Okay. So I'm gonna show you guys the video so y'all can see what it's called.
Right.
But we can't play it because they shut us down. But we're gonna tell you what it was said, and you guys can go on your own time and look this video up. It got no likes and no dislikes, so I hope they didn't delete the video just in a couple of seconds. But
40 views.
in a minute ago, so it says Hamite or African in parentheses Hamite boasting of selling the Negroes or Israelites into slavery, right? So you type this in, it's on GMS page, GMS Faith Unto Death. Shout out to the brothers. You know what I'm saying? So you could go on this page, check this video out, and it's an actual Hamite telling you that they sold Israelites or Negroes into slavery, right? So that these people weren't Africans that were in West Africa, but they were Negroes, right? Separate from Ham, as the Zondervan tells us. And this Hamite or African is explaining to you that they hate Negroes. It shows you to the white man who's not the devil, because if we would have stayed in their captivity, none of us would be alive anymore. That's how bad it would have been. And we still exist now, so Esau wasn't that bad. That's basically what he was saying. And so he's not the devil because, that's it. But because, the African thinks that the devil is the pitchfork red guy, not deceiver. But anyway, so um, that's what Ham is saying, that they sold us to the white man, that they had no problem doing so. They sold us to America because they wanted us to stay in America. They don't want us to come back. So this Pan-African movement that niggas like Jabario Saze and Sai Netta and all the people that get on his platform represent, the real Africans that they seem to not have no communication with, don't want them doing this Pan-Africanist movement, right? They didn't want a Marcus Garvey movement. They didn't even want a Noble Jew Ali going to the Nile Valley to try to find out any of that stuff and bring it back and creating a fake Quran or any of that stuff, right? They didn't want none of that going on because they don't like us. They don't want us in that land, right? So they sold us to the white man to get us out of their territory, basically, is what he was saying. And that while we were in captivity to them, it was a gruesome, terrible captivity that if we got a chance to last as long as the white man's did, would have exterminated us. In this 3 minutes and 58 seconds, that's a synopsis of what this black skinned devil himself, this Hamite, was trying to say, right? This Canaanite, soon to be slave. That's what he was trying to say about us, right? Go ahead.
One of the sisters said she just went to their channel and the video's gone.
See what I'm saying, bro?
We got to check that out and see if that's true. But one of the first things that Hamite said is he looks at Negroes as inferior. So you have to listen to it. You have to listen to it to really hear the hate in his voice. He was serious.
He meant that.
He was serious. I wish we could play it without the screen.
Yeah. Hold on. Y'all tell me if y'all can hear this.
Please do. Play that.
Hold on a second. We're gonna see if we can finesse. We're gonna see if we can finesse Esau right quick. I ain't gonna play the whole thing. I'm gonna skip to the good part.
1 minute was I think where you had it at when you started over.
Yeah, but I wanted them to kind of hear what he was saying at the beginning.
But
let's hope this works. Okay, hold on. Let me stop sharing the screen. Tell me if y'all can hear it.
That he come from a different bloodline, a different ethnic origin from the so-called Afro-American, Jamaican, Haitian, Puerto Rican, Panamanian, Cubans, Mexicans, okay, so on and so forth, and the so-called black, brown-skinned Native American Indians, okay, and all the brothers and sisters in the shanty towns of North, Central, and
y'all can hear it, right?
Slack you real quick. Yeah, leading the 12.
So y'all can hear it.
Leading the 12. Africa is named after a white man, so we're not African. I see what you're saying. Israel is in that landmass, but we're not African. We're Israelites.
And we'll explain that. I'm going to explain all of that in just a minute. I just want to get through this video because it's very important what he said. He's going to tell you we're not Africans. Listen.
South America of so-called Negroid.
This isn't the African speaking. This is a narrator explaining to you that the Negroes and Africans are different when you get the Daffy Duck sounding nigga, that's the half. Right.
The problem is, you Israelites, you black people in this country, what do you say about them? You call them animals or something? I call them inferior. I call you.
See the guy that's I called them in. Yeah, see the Daffy Duck, the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Adolf Hitler sounding mother. That's the Hamite. All right, so listen up to what he's saying.
Slaves, we turn you into slaves, and when we didn't need it no more, we kicked you out of Israel, and out of Egypt and out of Africa. We sold you to America, and that's where we want you to stay, and we don't want you back in Africa again. Now, you black people in this country, it's time for you to wake up and realize that this stink doodle-eating African does not care about you. He's not your people. He hates you, and that's why he sold you out of Africa.
So for those of you that didn't hear that part, the African basically just told you before the brother, the Negro, started explaining and narrating again that the African's about to come back. But to give you a synopsis on what the African said just now, he said that they sold us to the white man, right? And that that's basically what they intended to do with this captivity. The intention was to sell us to the white man because they hate us. They consider us to be an inferior people. That's what he said. Let's let. Go ahead.
I don't want to just say stop the clip and just tell the people what's being said.
Okay, come.
All right, so I mean, you heard a good portion of it, and after this part, he talks about how until they deemed our flesh, our bodies unclean, they would chop our heads off and eat them. We was eating y'all until we found y'all unclean because you're inferior, and then we just sold you guys. We were eating y'all. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Elite the 12, you gotta chill out. You know, we weren't trying to attack you, but you gotta chill.
No, that's all right. Don't worry about him. He's been here before. We know him.
You know, you just gotta, we men in here. We gotta be a little bit more manly. But right, so the African was telling us, the brother, y'all are inferior. We sold y'all to get y'all out of Africa. We didn't want y'all here. We don't want y'all to come back. So we sold y'all into, and like the brother said, like I don't want to say it, if y'all would have stayed in our hands, y'all wouldn't exist.
That's right.
And apparently he didn't read Exodus. He didn't read Exodus because we just would have multiplied.
But he probably did read it. He just didn't believe it.
Right. That's neither here nor there.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, all right, I know you got some stuff we got to bring up. We didn't get to that.
Yeah. So we didn't get to this last time because we didn't get past the video. So since brothers are wondering about why we not calling ourselves African and stuff like that, and we didn't use the word African for ourselves, Letner, whatever your name is. We used the word African to say that these people are the people that came against us. They would be the Africans. So, but basically what I want to show you guys is documentation that Esau has gathered to also prove the Crafty counsel, because he only got this documentation by, joining hand in hand with the Hamites and then being able to get this type of information on us. So what I'm going to show you guys is 2 documents and a picture. All right. Let me see. Start with this one. All right.
We still on? Mic check. Hey, drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear us. Hey, drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear us still.
Yeah, Elliot, so you coming back.
Man, boy, Esau is he's wilder today. All right.
You got in the chamber.
Okay, Conquer.
He's trying the hell out of me right now. Okay, you don't want this to come out. This ain't even that bad. I held back on you, Esau. I held back on the crafty counsel. I ain't even gonna get him everything today.
Should have let us finish the first one.
This, huh?
So they should have just let us finish the first one.
I'm saying this is. I'm not even going all the way in on y'all. Y'all doing all this mess to try to stop this from coming out. This is public information. They could Google this and find this information. All right, look. This is called the Jews of Bilad al-Sudan, right? Or the Jews and the history of the Sudan. All right. So it says it describes West African Jewish communities or Jew communities, right? We're not gonna say Jewish. We know what that is. Communities who were connected to known Jewish communities, which we know can't be a known Jewish community. So they're known Israelite communities from the Middle East, North African, North Africa, or Spain and Portugal. Various historical records attest to their presence at one time in Ghana, Mali, Songhai empires, which we know are the empires that dominated West Africa, where the majority of our ancestors were taken from. If you're now residing in the United States of America as a so-called Negro, West Indian, or Haitian, right? So, which means that your people would have been the Israelites living in Ghana, Mali, or Songhai Empire, right? Okay, so then called the Bilad al-Sudan, or the land of the Sudan, right? From the Arabic meaning land of the blacks, or the land of the blacks, because Sudan in the language means, hot or black, which is why the Sudanese people are supposed to be these dark-skinned, really tangy looking people, because of the land of the blacks. That's why Negro land was called Negro land, because what does Negro mean? Black. So that was black land, right? Land of the blacks, same thing. So this is why they started calling us black and allowed us to stay black, even though Africa is not called the land of the blacks in the to the Arabic people. That's always something that they considered it being, knowing Ham was supposed to be the so-called Hamites, right? Or the Africans, really dark-skinned people. So so-called Arabs or the Ishmaelites always called it something pertaining to the land of the blacks. Some say that the name that they used was Al-Kibulan, which is supposed to mean land of the blacks. So same thing, right? Anyway, Jews from Spain, Portugal, and Morocco, also known as the so-called Blackamoors, right? In later years were also formed communities off the coast of Senegal and the islands of Cape Verde. So these so-called Blackamoors were actually Israelites. I got else that'll prove that later on. Some of them, not all of them, which we'll also prove later on. These communities continue to exist for hundreds of years, but have since dispersed due to changing social conditions, persecution, migration, and assimilation, right? Which we can all prove. Conditions such as persecution, which is them being persecuted as us being Israelites, migration, us moving to different places, either by force, which is the transatlantic slave trade and the Atlantic slave trade, or by us just migrating due to the persecution, and assimilation. If you look into West Africa, a lot of the West Africans are so-called either Christian or Muslim. The reason why they're Muslim is because during the time of Ghana and Songhai empires, many of us were converting to Islam because of Mansa Musa, who converted to Islam and became the richest man that ever walked the earth, right? Many of y'all know about him. He was of Israelite descent, but converted to Islam, which allowed Islamic rulers who were actual Hamites to take rulership in West Africa where we were living and take control over us. And the Sikh Muhammad was one of those people, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So keep him in mind as well. He's the next big ruler to exist after Mansa Musa in West Africa, a Sikh Muhammad. So here's what I wanted y'all to see. According to most accounts, the earliest Israelite settlements in Africa were in places such as Egypt, Tunisia, and Morocco. And if you know anything about Africa, Egypt is in the east side of Africa, right? Tunisia is in the west side of Africa, and Morocco is like middle west, or the middle west side, right? Plus it's in the north. So that's what that is. And it said that Jews had settled along the upper Nile and Elephantine in Egypt. The Elephantine was literally an Israelite community in Egypt, right? And these communities were augmented, or they grew by subsequent arrivals of Jews after the destruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem in 70 AD or 70 CE, right? So this is Black history and culture telling you that Jews were migrated into West Africa in 70 AD, but look at the numbers that they write. When 30,000 Israelite slaves were settled throughout Carthage and Roman temper by the Roman Emperor Titus. So we see that Babylon to Timbuktu, they said that it was over 1 million Jews that fled into Africa. And here's a white man writing an article, right, on Black history and culture. Because if you didn't know, it was crackers that started the African American Studies departments in universities. But anyway, they used the number 30,000 to significantly shrink. Isn't 30,000 a whole lot smaller than 1 million or over 1 million? So that's their way of saying there can't be no more 30,000 people that's so-called Negroes that we can consider to be Jews today. Or we'll get in probably 100,000 due to them being able to be fruitful and multiply in their mass migrations and stuff. So it ain't that many of them though. Can't be 1 million of them. No, sir. So we got Rudolph Renzer saying it's over 1 million of us that fled, and the Edomites saying it's only 30,000. Mm-hmm. Not a little over 30,000. Not a whole lot more, thousands more than 30,000. Just 30,000. You feel? That's it. So we're gonna skip down a little bit. As you see, it talks about Moroccan Jews and Berbers and all that stuff. It's going to also talk about the Yemenite Jews that we just read about earlier. But I think it's something else I want here. Yes, here we go. All right, look, check this out. Proof that the Hamites had slaves and that the slaves were Israelites, right? We just read earlier that it was 1 million Israelite slaves that fled into, it was 1 million due to Rudolph Windsor's count and 30,000 due to this Edomites count. But either way, a whole lot of us fled into Africa, right? And we made it all the way to West Africa. So said the slave trade was also important for the economic development of West Africa. So slave trade wasn't just important for the development of America, right? It also helped develop the countries in West Africa. What countries are big in West Africa that also a whole lot of slaves come from? Nigeria, Senegal, Benin is getting bigger, Ghana's getting bigger, right? If it wasn't for the white man robbing them of all their resources at a certain point in time, these places would be just like America. All of them would be New York City or Atlanta or something like that, California. You feel what I'm saying? Because the white man was taking from them only because they had the resources that the white man has now. And they took from them so that they wouldn't be able to take the resources back. So Africa, West Africa, to be particular at some point, Timbuktu was at some point America, right? All the big universities at some point were in Timbuktu. You wanted to get a good education, where everybody go now? They go to America. Back in the day, back around the time of like people like King James and stuff like that even, it was Timbuktu that you would go to get a good education. From like the 1300s on. You know what I'm saying? Maybe earlier than that. I'm just being conservative right now. So it's just like it's no different. The slave trade helped them as well. That's how all nations on the earth will be blessed, right? We were in this nation, and guess what? It helped them develop because we were the slaves. Just like Egypt was developed. Why? Because we were the slaves. Babylon was developed. Why? Because we were the slaves. Assyria, Persian Medes, Greek captivity, Roman captivity, America. It all happened because we were the slaves. That's how all the nations became blessed, right? So for a very long time, West African kingdoms have relied on slaves to carry out heavy work. No different than America. No different than the Silk Road with the Asians, right? It's all the same. The Songhai Empire or Songhai Kingdom under the rule of Asika Muhammad, who we just spoke about, used slaves as soldiers. Slaves were trusted not to overthrow their rulers. So slaves were also given important positions as ruler or royal advisors. So who else would you have as a royal advisor than a Hebrew Israelite, right? Most wise people on the planet Earth. Why not have them as your royal advisors? The Edomites do the same thing, right? They have the so-called gatekeepers here in America that they use, the boule, the folks that basically help keep all the blacks and Hispanics in control, but they got to use their brain to do it. You know what I'm saying? It was these type of people who were helping the slave master make inventions back in the day. We made the inventions with our brain, but the slave master was able to put his money behind it and put his name behind it, so he made the invention. It's the same thing. We were their royal advisors at the time. It was just we were slaves. You know what I'm saying? No different. So Songhai rulers believed that slaves could be trusted to provide unbiased advice, unlike other citizens who held the personal stake in the outcome of decisions, right? So if you're trying to find out how this light bulb gonna come on and your name Thomas Edison, it make more sense for you to ask this smart ass slave you got who's not gonna have no chance of taking ownership of the light bulb, as opposed to you asking Benjamin Franklin how he think, because if he find out how to do it, he's gonna take control and it's gonna be called the Benjamin Franklin light bulb, not the Thomas Edison light bulb. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing that they were doing in Africa. Where did Esau get that from? He got it from the Egyptians. He got it from the Hamites, just like he did with Egypt. Same model. Sikh Muhammad was doing it in the 1500s, and they tried to do it in the 16, 17, and 1800s. No different. They just took the model from another oppressor and used it. Crafty counsel, right? So let's go. Yeah. Another group of slaves was known as palace slaves or Arabi, right? The Arabi slaves served mainly as craftspersons, potters, woodworkers, and musicians. The Arabi that we had here in America were the ones who served as the cotton gin makers, the refrigerator makers, the light bulb makers, the everything else we made. You know what I'm saying? That's who we were there. It's the same thing, bro. No different. So, um, I gotta read this part too for the Pan Africanists, right? The Asante group. If you know anything about the Asante, they're a group of Israelites, right? For the most part, but there's a sect of them called the Akan, who some say are Israelites, but I say aren't Israelites because they sold us into slavery. They were the first people to come into contact with the Portuguese and begin the slavery. And Sikh Muhammad was a member of one of the Akan tribes, right? If you know anything about West African tribes, there's tribes within the tribe, so everybody in a tribe isn't technically the same people. You know what I'm saying? All Igbos aren't Israelites. There's different tribes inside the Igbo tribes that, there's Israelite Igbos and then there's Hamite Igbos. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with the Asante, same thing with the Bantu, same thing with the Falasha, and all of them. You know what I'm saying? All of the Israelite West African tribes and stuff, there's tribes within the tribes, which is how they were able to be confiscated and basically searched out. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to show you guys documents. The real Hamites kept track of where we were and the numbers that we had, and they gave this information to Esau, and that's how Esau knew who to take and where to take us from, which is why that Negro land map that all you guys know about now is so important, right? And the zoom ins that you see where they have Judah exiled here, Judah exiled there, what were we exiled from? We were exiled from 70 AD. How did they know where we were after we were exiled from 70 AD? Because they had Hamites working with them who kept records. Why does Esau keep records? Because Ham kept records. They're using the same model. You understand what I'm saying? Ham kept a census. Now Esau has a census. It's the same thing. We're gonna prove it. So now we gotta get on Garfield people right quick. The Akan, right? So Asante kingdom of the Akan people grew in about 15th, 16th century into the kingdom or a powerful kingdom in most southern parts of West Africa, present day Ghana, right? This this growth was made possible by the rich gold mines found in the kingdom. The Akan people used their gold to buy slaves from the Portuguese. So Portuguese had their own slaves, which were Edomites, and at some point, but towards the 1300s, times changed, right? The Israelites that were running Portugal and Spain were kicked out of Portugal and Spain and sent to Africa. And some of them weren't kicked out. They were actually just turned into slaves in Portugal and Spain. So what the Akan people were doing after they found out that there were slaves in Portugal and Spain, they started working with the Pope and the Queen of Spain and getting slaves sent from those areas to Africa to help them with the gold mines, because this is when the gold contract would happen between certain West African countries and the Pope or Esau, right? Which is how Esau got the contracts to start going over to West Africa and stealing them of their resources in the first place. It's a treaty that they made just like they did with the Native Americans, right? Same model Esau uses for everything. So Continuing on, since we're going to skip. Since 1482, the Portuguese were interested in obtaining Asante Gold, had obtained a trading port in Elmina. As a result, the first slave trade in West Africa was with the Akan people. Okay, so for those of y'all wondering why people like Garfield, or Garfield in particular, hates the Israelites so much in our doctrine, is because he's a damn Akan. He might be one of the people that sold you and just got put on a boat and they never sent him back, right? So, because for those of y'all that don't know, that is the thing that used to happen. There were instances that you can look up where actual Hamites were put on the ships that we were supposed to be put on, and they sent us, you know, they literally sent them back. So that was the Jews of Bilad al Sudan. Right quick, I want to show y'all a little document called the Tariq al Fatash, and I'm gonna pass it back to the brother.
Good history, y'all. Good history. Hope y'all paying attention.
Hope so too, because I am not doing this again. This is a lot. All right, so look, the Tariq al Fatash. Can y'all read that? Do I need to zoom in?
I gotta zoom in a little bit. There we go.
All right, look. The Tariq al-Fatash is a West African chronicle written in Arabic in the second half of the 17th century. Why is it the 1600s and West Africans are writing in Arabic? Because they were already taken over by the Arabs, right? And they were already Hamite Islamic kings that were running the area at the time. So they were already starting to make our people assimilate, which means we had to write in Arabic, right? Because that's what the Hamites were reading and writing in. They were converting to Islam since the time of Mansa Musa. So it provides an account of the Songhai Empire that ran from Soni Ali, right, who was one of their first kings, who Asika Muhammad would be a predecessor of, right? Or is predecessor the word you use for somebody who takes reign after somebody else? Anyway, he's one of the people that the rulership was passed down to, right, from Soni Ali. So and there's another book y'all could get. It's called the Tariq al Sudan. And there's a third one. I can't remember the name of it, but together these three books make up the Timbuktu Chronicles. And these chronicles have been separated and torn up, pieces are missing and all that type of stuff. When you actually buy the book, sometimes it don't make sense because they're hiding the full records to kind of hide the full history to let you know exactly how deep the crafty counsel between Esau and Ham went. Because as you see here, it's French scholars who found this stuff because it was a Dutch man who wrote it. So it's a Dutch man writing this stuff in Arabic when he's not supposed to be an Arab, right? Which means he has actual Hamite Africans working with him, probably scribing this stuff for him. He's taking accounts of where Jews live in West Africa, right? Which I'm sure he would bring back to the Queen of Spain and the rulers of Portugal and the Pope and everything like that, so that eventually when they start the slave trade just a couple years after this, right? The last year that Soni Ali ruled is 1492. What is significant about the year 1492? It's the year that Pope Alexander the Fourth, or the father, is it the sixth or the fourth? Anyway, Rodrigo Borgia, right? Cesare Borgia's daddy. This is the year he became Pope, right? 2 days before he became Pope, and the same year is the year that he sent. It was the time that he sent Christopher Columbus out to look for the Israelites, right? And then he also got Columbus, being a Spaniard, had to get permission from the Queen of Spain, who also ruled Portugal, in the same year to do the same thing. So the Queen of Spain, the Pope, and the Hamite kings are all in agreement to send Columbus to of the Americas, right? Which would eventually give them all the place to send, like it would give the Hamites a place to send our people, right? In rulers, well, like in servitude to Esau. Once Columbus could find this land and overthrow the Israelites that lived there, right? And it would give him the opportunity to reclaim their land by selling us off if we weren't going to assimilate and follow their rules, which is what you're going to see Asika Muhammad would implement in this Tariq al-Fatash document. So I'm going to skip this part for the sake of time. If y'all want to look it up, it's Tariq al-Fatash. That's how you spell it right there, right? Says during his visit to Timbuktu in 1895, a French journalist, Felix Dubois, learnt of the chronicle but was unable to obtain a copy. Most copies of the manuscript have been destroyed in the early 19th century by order of Fula, leader of Seku Amadu, but in 1911, an old manuscript was located in Timbuktu that was missing some of the initial pages. So there's a king from West Africa named Seku Amadu who was a leader in West Africa in the 19th century or 1800s that basically had all of the main manuscripts destroyed so that we wouldn't be able to find this history out and know that we were actually Israelites and not Africans, right? If this document was not destroyed and was able to be put in schools and other writers were able to write about it, there would be no such thing as a Pan-Africanist movement. There would be no such thing as Egyptology. There would be no such thing as Nuwapianism. There would be no such thing as the Asiatic movement. There would be no such thing as none of that bull crap. Because the history would be out there that the people sold to the Americas were Hebrew Israelites and not Africans. So this document was destroyed particularly to keep that history from us, which is why we don't have it, because nobody knows about this document. You know what I'm saying? What Israelite have you seen talk about the Tariq al-Fatash report?
No.
You know what I'm saying? Jabari probably don't even know what this is. Sarnet has never heard of this. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be doing their research after they see this video, trying to find out what it is. Because they never heard of it. If this was existent when Noble Jew Ali was around, right? If Marcus Garvey, this document, he wouldn't have been trying to send us back to West Africa. He would have been trying to take us to Israel. You know what I'm saying? This was part of the Crafty counsel. Let's have this document come into existence, and then let's destroy it so that they can't actually find it and figure out what it was about. So if you look, it's very short, the information on Wikipedia, because when I first came into the truth, they had the whole document, at least what was left of it, you know what I'm saying, on the Wikipedia for you to find. In 2 years, they've deleted the argument. Because I found it in 2018, it's 2020 now. So, but Most High makes me take screenshots, so I got something to show y'all.
All praises.
I got something to show y'all. It's gonna piss Esau off. He's gonna be mad at this. Oh, you know what? Hold up. Let me make sure I can show it. Okay. Don't be like that. Hold on, y'all. Let me make sure this is acting stupid right now. Esau trying to stop me from showing y'all what I need to show y'all.
I got a preset while you get that.
Yeah, go ahead. Do you think?
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 26 and verse 32. And I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies which shall dwell therein shall be astonished at it. And that's what happened, man. We the Most High brought our land down, man, and we was an astonishment to the people, man. Now look at Israel, man. Look what they got, the biggest gay parade in Israel now, man. It's an astonishment, man. It's a shaking of the head. Verse 33. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste, man. That's exactly what the brothers bringing out, man. We were scattered amongst these nations, man. They destroyed all our documents. They took us from land to land. They besieged us, raped, robbed, and killed us, man. Made us serve their gods. This is what the brothers bringing out, man. This is good history. Go ahead, Adawan.
It's a good precept, actually. That was good. So what this is a page from the Tariq al-Fatash. It's Arabic. I don't read Arabic. I hate the Quran. But I'm assuming that the 3 red underlined lines is telling you what's being said here. So I got a couple screenshotted pictures. I'm going to read it to you. All right. So it says manuscript C of the Tariq al-Fatash describes a community called Beni Israel, right? If you look up Beni Israel, I'm gonna show it to you guys after I finish showing you all the precepts. But in Arabic, Beni Israel means the sons of Israel, literally, right? So it says it describes a community called the Sons of Israel that in 1402 current circa, right, existed in Tendermira, which I believe is somewhere in West Africa. Well, I know it's somewhere in West Africa. I just don't know where. Somewhere around Ghana. Um, they possessed 333 whales and had 7 leaders, right? So now I'm going to show you guys what the leaders' names was. Because a lot of these Pan-Africanists like to say, well, a lot of the people didn't get off the ship with Hebrew Israelite names. They had, a lot of them had Muslim names, so they must have been, Islamic people. Wasn't no damn Israelites that came off the ship. Well, there's documents that Sakari has shown where Israelites have actually got off the ship with Hebrew Israelite names. You can go look this stuff up. But for the people that talk about the Arabic names that they had, the reason why is due to assimilation. Something we read to you guys earlier said that these Israelite communities in the Bilad al Sudan, right, were destroyed because of persecution, slavery, migration, and assimilation. Assimilation is when you basically take on the culture of your oppressors, right? It's when you basically assimilate. You're being Hellenized. You understand what I'm saying? By lack of better words, by other nations other than the Hellenes or the Greeks. You feel what I'm saying? So we assimilated to Islamic culture from the time that we were the Moors in Europe, right? All the way to this period. In fact, it's going to tell you that we migrated to these lands with some of the so-called Moors, which is why we had no problem converting our names to these people because they knew we were Israelites, but we had no problem sharing the traditions with them because we were in cahoots with them in order to take certain land masses, right? We worked with them on taking Spain. We worked with them on taking Portugal. They helped us a little bit when it came to taking England as well. So we were able to use these Moors, who for the most part were Ishmaelites or Hamites, and they were Muslims, right? We were able to use them basically to give us more numbers to fight our enemies. And in return, we would study together. So them being people that had to study the Bible, they would study the Bible, and for show, we would, assimilate so which eventually I'm sure some of us would start taking literally at some point because Israelite to go off. But to show you guys the 7 leaders, right, of this one Israelite village in Tin Miranda, there's Jabarut ben Hashim. I ain't even gonna try to pronounce that. Thea Yoliman, I think, ben Adel Hakim, Zior ben Salam, which is peace. Abdel Latif bin Saliam or Saliman, which means his last name is son of Solomon. You understand what I'm saying? Like you kind of gotta look at the names to see what the meanings would be, right? This is Shaleb, son of Joseph. You know what I'm saying? Fidel bin Mazar, Malik bin Ayob. So these are the 7 leaders of this quote unquote Israelite community, right? It is also stated that they had an army of 15,000 men, right? Or 1,500 men, Slovakia. Other sources say that other Israelite communities in the region were formed by migrations from Morocco, Egypt, and Portugal, right? Which were quote unquote blackamoors, who were Israelites. When the Scottish explorer Mungo Park traveled through West Africa in the late 18th century, he was informed by Arab he met near Walata of there being many Arabic-speaking Jews in Timbuktu whose prayer was similar to the Moors. You understand? Why was our prayer similar to the Moors? Because we would pray with the damn Moors when we were in Portugal and Spain with them. Right? That's why these Moorish Temple brothers, right, feel like there's a Israelite, Moabite, Canaanite because they know that the Moors studied with all these people. The so-called Moors worked with the Moabites, right? They worked alongside the Israelites, and many of us were Israelites. And then real African Canaanites, which I'm going to show you, actual Canaanite Moors helped sell us with their brothers and sisters to the crackers, right? The Caucasoids, the Edomites, whatever you want to call it.
Actually, I got a precept to back you up too.
Yeah, go ahead. Actual Moors help sell us to these people. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
this is going us like assimilating ourselves in their cultures, wanting to be like the Moors, wanting to be like the Moabites. This is Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 32. And
WJ, you said that wrong. It's no Juno or Greek, you idiot. Go ahead. Sorry.
huh, Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 32. That's right, actually. And that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all, that ye say, we will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries, to serve wood and stone. So you can see that the Israelites was doing that. Back
Con,
in those times, we were saying we wanted to be like the heathen. We wanted to assimilate ourselves into these different cultures, man.
some of them still do.
Yeah, that's right. I don't want it. That's facts, man. But the Most High saying these last days, we're not gonna do that, man. We're gonna take away the last name of the heathen, man, and surname ourselves Israel, Yasha Allah, man.
Con. Check out this last picture. To prove once again that we migrated with Moors, and then they eventually helped stab us in the back, which is why we don't claim to be Moors, right? Many of y'all found out, oh, black people rule Europe. There was the Moors. Oh yeah, we're Moors. I got more in me. No, you don't. Moors helped more y'all asses to the damn Caucasians. That's how they did, right? Look, it says in the 14th century, many Moors and Jews, right? It didn't say Moors who were Jews, many Moors and Jews, because it knows that there were people that were Moors and there were people that were Jews who just fled persecution from Spain together, but weren't necessarily the same people, right? Some of these Jews had to assimilate into being Moors because the Moors weren't being killed by the Islamic Hamites because they were all Islamic people. They were all Muslims, right? So they wouldn't kill their own brothers and sisters in religion, right? So we would assimilate. Yeah, we're Moors too. We just, we're Moors from Israel. Then they'd, oh, okay, cool. You feel what I'm saying? So then once we say you're a Moor from Israel, you can't not be a Moor from Israel. You got to learn how to speak Arabic. You got to learn a little bit of the damn surahs from the Quran, and it better be more than Second Surah 122. You know what I'm saying? Like we had to actually assimilate, and that's what happened. So in the 14th century, many Moors and Jews fleeing persecution in Spain migrated south to Timbuktu area, which is the place I told you, the most affluent area in the land at that time, in all the land, not just Africa, and it was run by Israelites, right? At that time, part of the Songhai Empire. Among them was the Kheta people, or family descended from Ishmael, John Kot, Alayudinai, or Alayudi, Yahudi, Salaki, John Kot al Yahudi. So he's the Israelite. That's where they get that Yahudi junk from. So I'm assuming he's from the tribe of Judah. Of Shiyadia or Shidia, right, of Morocco. So he's somebody that actually fled with the Moors who went and founded Morocco, and he's the Israelite, right? Not no French Montana, but an actual Israelite Morocco. You feel me? So sons of this prominent family founded 3 villages that still exist near Timbuktu: Krishamba, Haibomo, and Kangarara, or how do you say that, John? In 1492, Asika Muhammad I came to power in the previously tolerant region of Timbuktu and decreed that Jews must convert to Islam or leave. Right? This is important. This caused for more assimilation. In what year was it? 1492. Either assimilate to Islam or get sold to the cracker. Check this out. Judaism became illegal in Mali. It wasn't Judaism at the time. It was Israelitism. You understand what I'm saying? So the same way that the Greeks and Romans said that we couldn't follow the law, statutes, commandments of our God and to help them with their Hellenization efforts of us, Sikh Muhammad took the same method, the same blueprint, right, and put it in front of us. He now basically says that you can't practice none of your laws as Jews, none of your feast days. You know what I'm saying? You probably can't even call yourself Jews. It's illegal in the land of Mali, as it did with Catholic Spain that same year. What did I tell you guys earlier? That some of these West African Islamic rulers were following actual like Edomites in the Pope, right? The same year that the Catholic in Spain kicked out the Israelites, right? Is the same time period that they decided to do the same thing in Africa, West Africa to be specific, right? So, I'll read this on the next page. This is a quote just to further expound on that. It says, this is by historian Leo Africanus. You understand? So in 1526, this is another man named Leo Africanus who's named after Leo Scipius Africanus, right? It says in Guara there were many rich Jews. There were some very rich Jews, so we had money, right? The intervention of the preacher Muhammad al-Maghali of Messin set up the pillage of their goods, and most of them have been killed by the population. So most of us were being killed by the population of the other people, right? This event took place during the same year when the Jews had been expelled from Spain and Sicily by the Catholic king, right? What Catholic king was it? The kings since basically all of the kings since 1492, really since 1392, because the Council of Verona, they was kicking us out too. Um, Moving on, Leo Scipius says, Leo Africanus says, the king, Asika, Muhammad, is declared enemy of the Jews. So we declared him enemy of the Jews, just like the Roman gods or the Roman leaders were declared enemy of the Jews when we couldn't declare ourselves to be Jews anymore, practice our feast days and Sabbath days. He will not allow any to live in the city. If he hears it is said that a Berber merchant frequents them or does business with them, he confiscates his goods. So if Berber merchants would even do business with us, or any merchant for that matter would even do business with us, and it was found out about, they would get their goods confiscated. So that's how serious it was. And if we were found out to be Jews, we would either be sold to the white man, or they would kill us. You understand what I'm saying? But for the most part, they started selling us, which is how the slave trade started. I didn't get to print out that precept for you, but if y'all find this article, it's on Wikipedia, then y'all will be able to read it on there. But just to prove to you that more validity for the slave trade, and for people that think that, you know, there's no way that the white man could have separated us by tribe or whatever like that. If you know how Israel got around, most of us, most of the time, whenever we migrated by tribe anyway. Wherever we separated or settled, we would be already separated by tribe, first off. Second off, just like Esau keeps a census of who we are and where we are specifically and how many numbers we have in those specific areas, Ham did the same thing. Here's the proof. In addition, it may be noticed that Jews are found in Berber Sers fortified villages, right, in Berber villages along southern Morocco and adjacent Sahara. Thus, the Utat near the Taliflat, or however you say that junk, there is a Mela with about 500 Jews. In Figweed, a Mela with 100 Jews. Going farther south of Tuat, there is a large community of Jews in an oasis of Alamada and the Tamitit, or whatever, Timitit, of 2 weeks of a 2 week journey from Talifat. The 6,000 or 8,000 inhabitants are said to be descendants of the Jews converted to Islam. So these people, this 6 to 800,000 people, was a whole village of converts to Islam who had assimilated but still know that they're Israelites. You know what I'm saying? This is in the 1500s. So these people were in the area, know that they're Israelites. The people surrounding them know that they're Israelites. You don't think that when Esau comes looking for Israelites, they're not going to be able to pinpoint and tell them exactly where we're hiding? This is how Esau knew where to pick us up, because the Africans were keeping track of where we were at and the numbers that we had. How many Edomites they need to come pick us up with, how many African soldiers they would send with the Edomites to make sure they would be able to round us up and put us in captivity and put us on the boats. All of that stuff happened because they were already keeping track of where we were. This is why it was so easy for their map makers to make the Negro land map and pinpoint where we was at, because the Africans already knew. They were keeping track the whole damn time. That's just one village. This is one area in Morocco. Morocco's not even on the damn Negro land map. It's just Morocco. What about Niger, Somalia, Ghana, Songhai, Benin, Cameroon, You know what I'm saying? All these different places, they had numbers just like this, where they know exactly where you're pinpointing, what villages you're in, how many of you was there. They knew this stuff. So don't tell me that the 12 tribes chart ain't true. How do you know that it was just the Levites that went to Haiti? Because they damn were separated already. How you know it was Benjamin that got put on the other island? They were separated already. They had the numbers. And I can bet you it's the same way in the Americas, because the book of Second Esdras basically explains it. When it talks about which tribe went and took which land, right? Or which land masses they took for themselves. It doesn't talk about all the tribes going into one land mass and separating amongst themselves. We literally went to different land masses and we're already split up when we settled in them different lands. That's why Issachar was in Mexico. Gad took the lawgiver's portion for himself, which was supposed to be the large portion in North America. They even tell you in books that when they're talking to the Seminole, who were supposed to be in Florida, that they say Cuban and Manasseh are in islands nearby.
Mm-hmm.
What islands nearby would that be? That would be the islands of the Caribbean. So how the hell can you tell me that the 12 tribe chart's not valid? Right? Them Negro only camps ain't bringing this information out because they don't even know it.
Bring it out.
So that's just the tip of the iceberg. But that's where I'm gonna leave it. So yeah, you could go ahead and continue what you was gonna say.
It's where you were walking the encyclopedia. They all pretty.
Okay.
Got a lot to learn, because I feel like that was the tip of the iceberg. And that's the series up there. That's the whole series. All right. So basically, what we went through today, we went through the Egyptian captivity, and then the captivity that we were put in through the Hamites, right? So that's why I don't want y'all always say Esau can't get away. Check this out, can't get away either.
La.
So we're gonna wrap it up with these, right? Let's turn to Exodus 11:7 for me. These are some things I want y'all to think about. You think we're the same people. You know, the Africans and Israelites are the same people. Even like when the brother had said earlier, Israelites are Africans. You can't really say that. I get where you were coming from, what you were trying to say, because of the landmass. But when you read the scripture and then turn around and say Israelites are Africans, you're going to confuse somebody. Go ahead, brother.
Just the book of Exodus, chapter 11 and verse 7. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how Yahweh doeth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel.
Now, the Egyptians are Africans, right? The Hamites. So how can you say that an African is an Israelite and an Israelite is an African? That completely contradicts the scripture. You're going to confuse somebody. See what I'm saying? We're not supposed to be called after the Edomites' name. So us being called African in itself, let's just say, okay, we was African. That wouldn't make any sense, because we just talked about how it was the Italian map maker that named Africa after himself. That doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? We're not supposed to be called after those Edomites' names. So we were never meant to be African. It's because the landmass of our home was in that landmass that he named that. Doesn't mean now we're African. Hamites are Africans. We Israelites, period. All right? Let's go to another scripture. Isaiah 43:3.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 43 and verse 3. For I am Yahweh thy power, the Holy One of Israel, thy Savior. I Egypt for thy ransom, and Ethiopia and Sebia for thee.
When you take something as a ransom, that's spoils of war, right? He gave them to us for a ransom. So how could we be the same people? He's gonna give us to ourselves? That doesn't make any sense, right? And at the end of the day, these nations are going to go into captivity up under the Israelites, and they will be required to follow the law. And if they don't, they're going to be punished. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Right? So if we're the Africans, or we're the Hamites, we sold each other into slavery, and then when it's all said and done, we're going to be given to ourselves. That doesn't make any sense. Africans sold Israelites into slavery, and at the end of the day, he that leads into captivity shall go into
captivity. That's right.
Come on.
The Hamites are going to go into
captivity. Hey, right quick, since you said that, before you continue,
yes, sir.
I want to show them this picture right quick. Since we were snapping on the Moors who put us in captivity. Let me show y'all this. If any of you black or more Negroes out there. Yeah, why is this shit? Hold on, yo. Esau is playing with me today. He trying not to let me bring none of this stuff out that I got to show you guys, man. All right. Let me see if it's going to pop up. There we go. Check this out. Y'all can see this picture right here.
Wow.
See, these are brothers, and these two niggas right here got fezzes on, right? These represent your black Moors, right? Your Moorish Science Temple Negroes. You know what I'm saying? The nigga's last name El Bay. You feel me? And these are your Israelite brothers, the ones that didn't want to assimilate to foreign culture, right? That wanted to keep their identity as Hebrew Israelites. They about to get sold to the Portuguese. They about to get sold to the white man. They about to get sold to the Dutch. They about to get sold to the European crackers. They about to get sold to whoever wants to take it. And who's doing it? These niggas, right? Who I'm sure are probably from the Khan nation or some other Hamite nation that was in close proximity to Israelites, but weren't actually Israelites. You understand what I'm saying? Or their brothers that assimilated with that, T.D. Jakes, Al Sharpton, Reverend Martin Luther King after the damn Rothschild got to him type spirit. You feel what I'm saying? And now they're selling their own brothers and sisters. So it's no different, man. But that's just something to show you. The history matches up completely, right? We showed you documents proving that the Moors were there. The Moors were selling us, or the Berbers, right? We're letting it be known who we were and where we were at, what type of villages we were in. We were hiding with them. And then when Esau says, okay, well, I want you to bring them to, I'll give you 2 pieces of gold. This nigga and this nigga split the gold in half, 1 piece for each, and they each go get them 7 slaves. You feel what I'm saying? That's how it used to work. So just a pictorial reference for you all. Go ahead,
You want to bring this next one out? Other one?
What is it?
Joel 3, 4-8.
Yeah, we could bring that out. I like that
one. So what do you call it again? 3 what?
4-8.
This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 4. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine?
You understand? Because Tyre, Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine, those are the Hamites, right? Particularly the ones from Canaan, who were just in the picture that I showed you, right? The Moabite, Canaanite, Israelite Moors, you know what I'm saying? The ones that helped sell us with the real Hamites. You feel me? This is them people. Go ahead.
Will you remember me will you render me a recompense
Yeah, like, are you gonna pay me back for what you did to the brothers and sisters? Right? Go ahead.
And if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head.
Yeah, and if you pay me back, I'm gonna pay you back on your own head, right? I'm gonna take my payback myself, and I'm gonna use your head to do it. Go ahead.
Because ye have taken my silver and my gold.
Because you took the jewels of God, right? That's what Hitler called us, right? The jewels of God. That's what they did. They took his jewels, his silver and his gold, right? His precious things. Go ahead.
And have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things.
Yeah, see, where's goodly, pleasant things. They took us into the temples because that's what you do with like choice ornaments, right? We're the choice ornaments of the Most High. So they took the choice ornaments from the most important nation on the planet and took it into their temples and tried to make us sacrifices unto their gods. That's why they was killing us, right? Go ahead.
The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians.
Who they sold them to?
Unto the Grecians.
Yeah, so they sold us to the crackers, man, the Grecians, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's what they did. There was no Jew or Greek Hellenized one that wasn't sold by a Hamite to a Grecian. That's what happened. We all got sold to them. And what else happened? All right, go ahead.
That ye might remove them far from their borders.
Right. So we was already far enough, right? We had to go from freaking West Africa we had to go from from Israel to West Africa, right? Now we've been taken from West Africa, which is already far enough from Israel, and we've been taken all the way to the other side of the earth. So they removed us far from our border, right? So that the Palestinians who are Hamites can have access to the land, right? So that the Egyptians who are Hamites can have access to the land. The Ethiopians could fake like they Israelites and have access to the land. This is them trying to take what's ours, right? They still casting lots. You understand what I'm saying? Through their crafty counsel. This is part of what they're doing. Go ahead, Ak.
Behold, I will raise them out of the place where ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head.
The Most High said He's going to raise us up out of the place where we have sold them, right? We're going to remember ourselves in the land of our captivity. You understand what I'm saying? And He's going to rise us up so that we can render them a recompense, right? With some swords. Go ahead.
And I will sell your sons and your daughters in the hand of the children of Judah.
Yeah, He said, we're going to take them little Hamite African people. We're going to take the little Queen of Shebas and all of them little girls and stuff like that. And we're going to sell them for macadamia wine. You know what I'm saying? Muscadine wine. We gonna sell they little boys and stuff like that for whatever we want to sell them for, right? The children of Judah gonna do it, right? Because that's the people who was primarily sold by these Tyre and Sidonians, right? These African, these Hamites. They sold the children of Judah, did they not? That's why Judah's gonna get the opportunity to do whatever they want with them. Go ahead.
And they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off.
Right, and the Sabians are also freaking that's the Queen of Sheba's people, right? The people from Sheba or Saba, right? The Sabians. So we gonna sell them to their own people. You feel what I'm saying? And other people far off. We're gonna sell them to Ishmaelites. We're gonna sell them to the Slavics. We're gonna sell them to who we want to sell them to, right? Because that's the choice we get. Go ahead.
For Yahweh has spoken it.
For the Most High has spoken it. You understand what I'm saying? So that's all. That's all you got to read out. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to proclaim that amongst the Gentiles. We're going to proclaim that amongst Ham, amongst Esau, amongst Moab, amongst Ammon, amongst Ishmael, amongst all of them, right? This is going to happen to all of them, not just Tyre and Sidon. Every nation that had a hand in our captivity is going to go into captivity. So that's that. Go ahead, Ak.
Let's I got one more I just added, but let's get on Isaiah 45 and 14.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 45 and verse 14. Thus saith Yahweh, the labor of Egypt and the merchandise of Ethiopia and of the Sabians, men of stature, shall come over unto thee, and they shall be thine. They shall come after thee, in chains they shall come over.
See that? So they gonna be ours, man. They gonna come over to us in chains.
That's right.
It can get no simpler than that, right? If you thought Isaiah 14 and 2 was a lie, right? And you know it don't just apply to the white man, because who did I just show you how to captivity? I just showed you a picture of actual
Here we go.
Yeah, Con, you hear it? I think it might have knocked him off. Con.
But while we waiting,
I'm gonna keep reading on that.
yeah, what'd you stop at?
In chains, verse 14 still.
All right.
And they shall be thine, and they shall come after thee. In chains they shall come over, and they shall fall down unto thee, and they shall make supplication unto thee, saying, surely God is in thee, and there is none else. There is no God. That's right, man.
So everything that was said, or everything that was done to us from these people, is going to happen to them.
That's right.
Just like people, our noblemen, our elders, our leaders was put into captivity. The Hamites. You know what I'm saying? Those same Hamites and they noblemen and they elders, or whatever you would call those people, they leaders will be put into our hands. Go ahead. Go ahead and finish that, Alwan.
Man, they killing me with this, bro. They really killing me. But I mean, that's all it is, man. Go ahead and read that again, because I gotta pull it back up. Hold on a second. Hold on. It's like I get stupid. All right. What verse was we at? Because I done
45 and 14.
threw me off. All right, Con. Go ahead, read it again.
This is Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 14. Thus saith Yahweh, the labor of Egypt and the merchandise of Ethiopia and of the Sabians, men of stature, shall come over unto thee, and they shall be thine. They shall come after thee. In chains they shall come over.
Right. So they gonna be ours, man. Just like it says, right? We gonna take captives whose captives we were, and we shall rule over our oppressors, right? We were their captives, they were our oppressors, so we're gonna rule over them. Go ahead.
Come. In chains they shall come over, and they shall fall down unto thee. They shall make supplication unto thee, saying, surely God is in thee, and there is none else. There is no God.
Right. Because they're gonna know at that point, dang, this is only happening to us because we had them people in this type of captivity before. So their God must be a righteous God. Their God must be about vengeance. He must be a man of war, because now he's allowing them to do the same thing to us that we did to them.
Yep.
How is that not righteousness? That sounds righteousness is I don't know what to me. What's up?
This last scripture is back in what you said. It's crazy.
What is it?
Give me 2 Thessalonians 1-6. We're gonna read the verse 9. We're gonna end on this one unless somebody else got something to bring out. Another precept to bring out. This is the last one that I
It's the book of 2 Thessalonians, chapter 1 and verse 6.
Yeah.
Seeing it is a righteous thing with God to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you.
So they said it's a righteous thing. Righteous. You know, I've been watching, for a couple of years now, when brothers run into edomites, in the street. I know we're talking about Ham, but a lot of times it's Esau that the brothers catch with this. And they ask him, do you believe in judgment? And being, simple, they're like, yeah, I believe in judgment. Oh, okay, you think America's a righteous nation? Yeah. Well, okay, so what's to happen for this? And then they show them. Now they want to holler forgiveness. But the Bible don't teach that. Can you read verse 6 again, please?
Come. Seeing it is a righteous thing with God to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you.
So when Esau and Moab, Ammon, Amalek, and Ham The rest of them want to say forgiveness is the right thing to do. The Most High says it's a righteous thing with him. So what you gonna say? What can you say?
Mm-hmm.
That the Most High said it's a righteous thing with him to fix tribulations and then with trouble. You read verse 7.
Verse 7. And to you who are troubled, rest with us. When Hamashiach Yahushua shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels.
Can't read.
In flaming fire, take vengeance on them that know not God, and that obey not the gospel of Hamashiach Yahushua.
These other nations don't know the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They wasn't given any covenant. They wasn't given the law. They don't know the Most High. Right? They don't care about keeping the law. But in that day, you're going to wish they did.
Mm-hmm.
Because Esau and them, you know that song, a lovely day. It's going to be a bloody day. That's what for sure. And that day, they're going to wish that they didn't stalk the prophets of the Most High when they see them on the street. Even though they're the Gentiles, they're going to wish they were humble. Right? They're going to wish they kissed that little boo. That's what they're going to wish they did. Right? They're going to wish they had some common sense and try to stop what was going on. Because time and time again, even though Esau goes back into other captivities to see how he can get us into a further captivity, he didn't realize, or he didn't take out of it that the Most High always brings his children out every time. So I guess he thought that he could take us into this captivity, Ham can put us in this captivity, and it won't happen again. Same thing that happened then, it's going to happen now. Where'd you stop at? Verse 8? Let's go to verse 9.
Verse 9. Who shall be punished with everlasting destruction from the presence of the Lord and from the glory of his power.
So they're going to be punished with everlasting destruction. Right?
And I had a precept too I wanted to bring out, just on the screen for a little bit, but just to let me back off what y'all said about, you know, them basically wanting to preach forgiveness and everything like that, you know what I'm saying, so that we basically forget what type of atrocities they put on us, not just Ham, but the white man too, and Ishmael and all of the people, right? They teach that we should forgive our neighbor. They made everybody your neighbor so that you wouldn't be mad at nobody for everybody putting you in captivity.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what they did, right? They've healed the hurt of the daughter of my people slightly, saying peace, peace, when there is no peace. So that's what we have to keep in mind, man, at all times, especially here in this captivity. There is no peace for these people, man, right? The reason why these different movements to Pan-Africa have grown the way that they have is because people have basically fallen for the peace that they claim has been given to us by Africa, right? Because if you're not in Israel, if you're not an Israelite, the only conception that you have about the captivity that happened in Africa is that black people sold black people, because that's what they teach us. So for you to become a Pan-Africanist, you have to be okay with black people selling black people into slavery.
Right.
Right? You have to be cool with that, which means you have to feel like there's some form of peace. You had to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So at the same time, you can't preach about black on black crime because you was cool with black on black crime. You know what I'm saying? You can't preach about black men being mad at black men and having an evil eye towards their brother because you was cool with that. You're a Pan-Africanist who's okay with black people selling black people because that's what they teach us it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why all they could do is basically put up a Black Lives Matter movement, march or protest, and do nothing about it. Mm-hmm. Because everybody a part of that movement has accepted the fact that it was cool when the Africans did it. And we're supposed to be the Africans. So we did it to ourselves. You understand what I'm saying? That's how the white did it.
Right.
So they preach peace, peace, but there is no peace. Because the Most High has reserved a remnant that is not bowed the knee to bow, and we that remnant.
That's right.
And we tearing the doctrines down. You understand? So go ahead. I'm done.
Hey, that was it. I mean, we learned these captivities. We learned what Ham's hand was. They tried to shut us down, and we came back and did the whole lesson plus some
That's
again.
right.
So Esau and them, y'all can't get away.
They
Can't
can't.
do it, man.
No nation can get away, man.
You know what I'm saying? You know, so that all praise to the Most High. Water to you, brothers, for helping me with the class.
Hey,
The underbar.
and I hope y'all can understand. We're not gonna be taking no questions because it's 1 o'clock in the morning. We had to do this video twice. So, brothers is sleepy. You gotta go to work tomorrow, some of us. So yeah, hope y'all enjoyed the lesson. Again, everything they get brought out like we wanted it to, because Esau and Ham both are a bunch of devils, and they was trying their best to get to interrupt the stream in any way they could, but Most High let the word come out. All praises. So with that, I'm brother Ayah.
So the Judah.
Soldier Jaiquab.
We are the Sons of Thunder. It's our hope, prayer, and desire for all Israel to the Most High that they might be saved. Right?
Uh-huh.
Shalom.
Shalom.